So there's a story that has been weighing on me, like on my heart. And it's what happened to Nolan Wells, who is a young black man who was on what was supposed to be a fun trip with his friends, who very likely was murdered by them. They came back with a story that makes no sense. There's video of an altercation, um, and it's likely that they murdered this kid. There is now a lot of discussion. Honestly, this has been ongoing. I would say ever since Trump got into office, there's a lot of discussion in the Black community about no longer spending time in white spaces because it's not safe. And this same pattern has come up for me because I've seen a lot of victims of abuse who are in spaces around people that believe are their friends or believe are people who love them, who actually don't, and will take any opportunity to gang up on the target, and then act punitively or take what they want. And so is impolitic as it is to say now, I would also recommend that if you are a woman, you don't go out in a group of guys. I had made that mistake multiple times, and I know a lot of victims who have been raped have also made that mistake. And it doesn't mean like all men, it just means there are specific dynamics where you think that there are people that are your friends, or you think that there are people who are safe people, and they end up not being safe people. When I was sexually assaulted, I made the mistake. I was the only woman there. I trusted all of my male friends, and they decided to let someone come over who was not trustworthy. So it's not even just like that they weren't trustworthy. It's that anyone you trust, you also have to trust to not allow in unsafe people. Uh, and so I don't want to talk about Nolan Wells specifically because a lot of other people are doing that in a much better way than I could. But what I want to concentrate on for victims of abuse is how often that we are in spaces that are not safe for us and we don't recognize it. And we're looking for validation from the people in those spaces. Um, and they are truthfully not people we should be looking for that validation from. There's Sometimes it's jealousy and envy. Sometimes it's just because they don't like the victim, or they feel that the victim is at a lower status or should be at a lower status. When the victim starts to do anything that seems as if they are stepping out of that place or out of that role, they become the target of either social or physical violence to put them back in that place. Um, and so it's very confusing because when you're operating in this world, according to what people are saying, you may not realize that this is the situation that you are in. When I think about how victims of abuse are wanting to be in like a friend group or wanting to be, um, having fun with everyone else or wanting to be accepted or wanting to be in that workplace environment where other people are treating you, well, and maybe they aren't. And so the target, the victim, the person who's the lower status, is trying to do everything that either other people are doing or fixing what they've been told is wrong with them, when in reality, it's in my opinion, often a status issue. If you look at mammals who are organized into like large extended groups, those mammals will there are lowest status members of the group, and those lowest status members of the group are the ones that it's acceptable to be physically violent with, or to shun, or to treat badly. So it's, like maybe the runt of the litter or something like that, where we think, oh, we're human beings and things don't work that way. And especially if you grew up like I did in a belief structure that talks about how everyone, we're all one, and everyone is love, and love is everyone. And so you don't recognize that there's maybe evil people out there. Another thing that I have noticed is that often the most fun person in the friend group is the most unsafe. It is so consistent to see everyone who wants to hang out with this person who treats one or more people like in a shitty way, but they're like, "Oh no, but they're so fun." And it seems like the people who end up leading these groups are people who are narcissistic. And I hate to use that word because we kind of do overuse it. But in terms of wanting to be the center of of attention, and putting themselves forward as if they're above everybody. But somehow people kind of like seem to organize around this person because they want to have fun. And so when I think about Nolan Wells in particular, he was a football player. I don't know if these guys were on the football team with him, but I would not be surprised. If he was exceptional, which I would guess he is, if he was exceptional, they likely were envious of him, or jealous, whichever one it is, both. I don't know. Um, and so it's that they are acting as if his friend. They might even believe, in their conscious mind that he's their friend, while they secretly resent him. So there was a video I watched. Hold on. I was going through my notes. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. There was a video I watched. It was called How. Oh, wait, actually, it wasn't called that. That's what I titled it when I posted it to the subreddit. It's Nikkei, not Nike, on YouTube. And she was talking about how to never attract jealous friends. And the one that caught my attention was that you have a zero tolerance policy for jealousy and envy. And, this could show up even as insignificant seeming as, oh, I wish I could be like that. Um, but it's in a sense that the people who believe you to be below them, who are jealous of what you have, they then resent you and they want to punish you for having what they don't. And I am absolutely certain that if you are a, you know, marginalized person of some kind, that this absolutely sounds familiar to you. And I'm not saying only marginalized people, but whenever, in my opinion, you have a system set up where you have someone who's put in that one down, low status position, who doesn't realize this is the dynamic, who is trying to make friends, who's trying to be a good friend and to do what is good, just, moral, and ethical in these relationship dynamics. And they don't realize that when they assert themselves, thinking that they are a person who gets to have opinions and exist and do things and also protect themselves, etc., they essentially get punished. This can also, of course, happen in an abuse dynamic, in a romantic relationship. So not just friendship, not just work environments, not just family, but it can be in a romantic relationship where often the abuser wants what the victim has or is, either to possess it so it makes them look better, or to actually be like that. But they resent that the other person is like that. And so they are envious or jealous. They're looking for excuses to put, as soon as they can, the victim in that one down position, because that is where they feel they belong. They believe that they should be higher and that the victim should be lower. And then once they're in the one down position, they're going to make them believe that they deserve it. And the more violence they enact toward the victim, the more they're going to act like the victim deserved that violence, because it's very hard to exist in this world in a way that is cognitively integrated. If you know that person doesn't deserve it, it's harder to do those violent things to them, unless you're like an actual, I don't know, psychopath or have anti social personality disorder. Most people are trying to act in alignment with their beliefs. And so when they engage in actions that are wrong actions, that are bad according to their own moral code, they're going to figure out a way to make it that person's fault, and put the responsibility on them. So anyway, I just want to say that if you have been a person who has experienced these things, where you've suddenly realized, "Oh, I'm a sheep among wolves," or "These are not my friends. We're I have fun with them. They're fun. Fun doesn't mean friends." And I've had this discussion with, not only people I personally know, but also victims of abuse, where it's like, you may love hanging out with this person, and it's still important to recognize they're not a safe person. They're not safe for you. They're dangerous. And you got to make your decisions accordingly. And again, like I've talked about this before, when I have this conversation with my son, I call them tricky people. Yes, you like them. Yes, you have fun with them. No, they are not safe. You need to plan accordingly. Anyway, I hope this makes sense, and I will talk to you next time.